Hello, David. How are you?
Hey Ashley, how are you? I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me today.
I'm so excited to have you today. And it looks from the YouTube waiting room like folks are excited to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley from the Discover team at Teachable, and really excited to see everybody joining us today. If you could do us a favor and just drop a note in the comments that you can see us and hear us, that's usually a good way to kick things off to make sure that our guest is adequately conveying his wisdom and knowledge by making sure that you all can see us and hear us. And maybe let us know where you're tuning in from. Always nice to know where folks are joining from. David, where are you today?
I'm based in Prague, Czech Republic. You can't see the window, but it's actually like 8:30 p.m., so it's already dark.
It's late, yeah.
I know you are in the US on East Coast. Is that right?
Well, most of my team is on the East Coast, but I'm actually in California, so
Okay.
it's 11:30 in the morning here for us.
Oh,
A
all
bit of a
right.
dreary day by California standards, but
Mm,
I Prague is one of my favorite cities. I have so many fond memories of that spot. Glad
awesome.
to have you joining from there today. It looks from our comments that folks are able to hear and see, which is wonderful. We have such a great collection of folks from New York, from California, and globally we've got Brazil and the UK. Oh, and Turkey, so wonderful, and South Africa. It's lovely to have everyone joining us today. Before we get started, I just want to share a couple of notes. One, there will be a replay available of today's session, so don't fret if you miss any of David's words of wisdom. We will be sure to send you a link to replay the session. You also have access to David's course, which is, today we're going to get a sneak peek into being present and engaged with your audience on Instagram if you are in a creative profession. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. So be sure to check out David's full course, which is pinned to the top of the YouTube page. And I'll be dropping a link to it in the comments throughout the session as well. I also will be, I'll be on and backstage periodically. So if you have questions or comments that you want David to address, feel free to drop those in, and I will make sure that we tackle those during today's session. I'm also curious to know. So today we're learning a little bit about Instagram for creatives. I'm curious to know what your creative pursuit is. So we've got folks from all over the globe here. What creative pursuits are you involved with? What is your discipline? David is an incredible, not just architect, but somebody who specializes in this very particular element of architecture, meaning this sketch, right? Being able to adequately convey a vision in the form of something that has not been built yet, but that wants to be. So he's built a tremendous sort of niche for himself as somebody who is an educator and can help folks, develop skills for sketching and architecture, this kind of specific creative discipline. And David, you've also been able to translate that into a totally different universe, that of Instagram. And just because you are a talented architect with a specialized skill in sketching doesn't necessarily mean that you are, a king of social media. And I think a lot of creatives struggle in trying to figure out, all right, how do I represent what my work is really about in this medium that maybe I'm not totally fluent in? And you've been able to do that in your work. So as we get started, I would love to hear, maybe if you could just share a little bit with us about Did you start out feeling pretty confident sharing your work on Instagram, or did it take you some trial and error? How did that transition happen for you?
Yeah, thank you. I will talk about it at the beginning of the workshop, but
Perfect.
yeah, it was. As you said, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a social media manager. I don't have business, formal education. I'm just a creator who wants to share his work and put the word out there and hopefully grow an audience which is on the same page with me, right? Resonates with what I do. So over the years, it's been really testing and failing and testing and optimizing. And I've noticed in the comments that we have Andrea, who is a published nonfiction author, which is fantastic. And I've also included some of the stories with my both self-published and traditionally published books, and how actually Instagram helped me to leverage a better deal thanks to my online presence, thanks to kind of social proof that I got over the time. So it doesn't relate only to people who sketch and draw, but it's really any creative niche and area there is. And just building an online presence, strong online presence, will help you in so many ways we can't really imagine at first. But definitely, it's been struggles at the beginning. I'll show you one of my first posts, and then we kind of jump into what it is today. And I'll share with you the best pieces that really work for me, practices, strategies that took me to where it is today. So I'm very excited to share with you.
Well, I am excited also. I love what you're saying about the functionality of developing a presence on social media, specifically Instagram, being able to utilize that as a point of leverage in the other the other business elements of your creative profession, which is, I work with a lot of creators, and there can sometimes be some hesitancy about, but there's like maybe an ickiness associated with trying to sell yourself on social media that doesn't feel aligned with your like artistic integrity. But there, as you're mentioning, there is also this terrific avenue to increase your leverage, your presence and really empower you to get better deals for yourself. Like you're pointing out, that's an angle that I hadn't thought of. So I appreciate that. Would love to just dive into the workshop. It looks like folks are queued up and ready to go. Just so everybody knows, I will be popping on and off screen. I'll be backstage, but I'm here. I'll be in the chat with you all, answering questions and sharing links where I can, and also raising questions that you bring up to David during and throughout the presentation. So keep them coming. Let me know if there's anything that I can help you with. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to you, David.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Can you share the screen? Awesome. Sure. Perfect. So hopefully you can all see me and you can all see the presentation. And let's get this started. So thank you so much for being here with us. And let me do just one thing so I can see you clearly. Perfect. All right. So yeah, today's session is about building your online presence, specifically on Instagram, but we'll be talking about many different principles and strategies that are really applicable to any online platform, whether you are a blogger, you have a YouTube channel, you have any other social media channels. It will still be applicable to some level. But of course, we'll be talking specifics in the context of Instagram. And I'll share with you kind of my journey from really starting from scratch with zero, like everyone else, and what helped me to get to more than 200,000 amazing people, amazing community, fans of sketching and architecture, and all that organically without really paying for any ads. So a little bit about me. Ashley mentioned it. I just want, you can read it probably by yourself. I'm an architect. I love sketching. That's all I do in the Sketch Like an Architect project, which hopes to bring back some of the values and benefits of analog hand sketching, but also digital sketching in today's era. But I wanted to mention that, I'm not a marketer. I'm not a social media manager. I haven't done that before. I'm just a creator, I guess, just like most of you. And I just found that Instagram was a great tool and has been a great tool for me to spread the message. It's a tool, and I'd like to approach it in that way and kind of show you or help you navigating the tool to really squeeze the most out of it, if you can. So what we'll be covering today, in a sentence, is basically how to build your online presence and get the attention and influence that you deserve. And in a little bit more detail, we'll talk my 7 secrets, which are divided into these categories. Really, what matters to your online presence? That's the kind of general level, applicable to many different platforms. Then we talk nitty-gritty stuff about hashtag strategy, why is that important, and how to make it work for you. What I think is actually a quality content on Instagram. And we'll dive even into very insights, analytics, specific examples of some of the best performing posts and why they worked and what they were actually able to help me achieve, beyond just Instagram, right? And because we are now in, what is it, September 2021, and there's been a lot of discussion about, is Instagram still a thing? Is it dead? We'll tackle that towards the end as well. So I'll give you my honest opinion. I'll give you examples again that I tested out, whether Instagram is dead or not yet, or is it dying, or we'll talk about that. And there will be, of course, a Q&A at the end where I'll dedicate myself to your questions and I'll try to answer them the best I can. Of course, this whole thing is kind of, as Ashley mentioned, a little bit of open window to my full course about Instagram, which is so much more detail, but I'll tell you about it maybe a bit more later. This is just a sneak peek about one of the best post analytics, and it's here to show you that even with simple photos or images, maybe carousel images, you can get extreme reach on Instagram and extreme action from your audience. This is just, we'll dive very, very deep into this one. But you can see, even though I think I had around 100,000 followers back then, I have the reach of more than 900,000 people, and there was 3,000 website clicks almost. So whether you want to really drive traffic to your website, to your YouTube, to maybe your products, services, anything else, Instagram is a great tool for that as well. And I'll show you why this worked and how it was actually designed to work. It was not just some random tactics. So, as all the good stuff, this workshop is not for everyone. But if you want to grow your audience, maybe to establish a personal brand, get your work or your company out there, and kind of become a go-to authority in your niche, whatever it is you are doing, and get more leads, sales, and generally drive more traffic, then this will be perfect for you. But if you're hoping to get some, magic trick, some silver bullet that would solve everything for you, I can't offer that, really. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in many shortcuts. It's gonna be more about long-term strategies that actually work, without really being dependent on any current trends or anything like that. So I hope that it resonates with you. And to start things off, I always want to know, for my live audience, where is it that you're at right now? Please let us know in the chat. How many followers do you have right now? What's the starting point for you today, right now? Whether you have less than 1,000, between 1 and 10K, 10K to 50K, or 50K plus followers right now. Let us know, just the letter A, B, C, D in the chat, and we'll get into more details very soon. Okay, I'm seeing some B's. I'm seeing A's, which is perfect. 0, that's also perfect, Denise. No worries, we'll cover even the basics that you need to get as the foundations for everything else to follow. Okay, I'll give you a few more seconds. I'll take a sip. Okay, a lot of A's, a lot of B's, a C from Pedro. Hi, Pedro. Amazing. All right, let's get into it. I wanted to share, I guess, one of the very first posts that I made, and you can see that it's actually from the end of 2016. And there was like, from very skeptical point of view, from very strict point of view, there is nothing correct about this post. It's not in Square, it's not native to the platform, it has no hashtags, it has no geolocation, no caption, no nothing, you know. But it was still one of the first things, the first step, the baby step that started the whole journey. And if you're here doubting yourself, you don't need to. Everyone starts somewhere, and my beginnings were not something extra, you know. But jumping forward to this day, maybe those 3 to 4 years forward, and having more than 200,000 followers, it opened door for me in many cases, and it brought opportunities. I think that's the strongest influence that my online presence had. So I had the chance to speak at conferences about my project. I also speak at universities to architecture students. And we've had that, I think it was Andrea in the comments about she's an author, publishing books. She's a published author. And I actually started my journey with self-publishing my ebooks into printed books. And thanks to my online presence and thanks to Instagram, I got them trending as #1 new releases on Amazon, which is just super exciting for me. And it happened again with the second book. And with my third book, which is traditionally published with a major American publisher, I've been actually able to negotiate a better deal. As you probably know, everything in life is kind of a negotiation. And this publisher reached out to me with a great proposal. It was a great fit. And I liked the deal, but I wanted to try to negotiate. So I said, hey, look, I've already self-published 2 books. They were great success. They were trending on Amazon. I have this amount of audience that are a great fit for what we're trying to do here. This is my reach. I could show them analytics that I could reach hundreds of thousands of people. And let's say I want a better deal. And I've set really a list of pretty solid arguments from past experience, past achieved results. And I was able, actually, thanks to my Instagram presence, negotiate a 30% better deal than what was offered in the first place. So building your online presence is a lot about having that leverage, having that social proof that you can use to achieve better and bigger things. So I can see the comments about the ebooks and about the self-publishers and self-publishing authors in here. This is a great way how to build your community and how to leverage it to actually ask your audience to help you with your book launch. Fantastic. Another, probably the biggest way, the biggest important part of having an audience is that audience itself, is the community, and how you can serve them, how you can help them in their endeavors. So I'm very blessed to have amazing people in that community, engaged, grateful for my teachings, and just overall engaged audience that is really great fans, not only of me, but generally of sketching and architecture, and we are on the same page. So I want to start with what really matters to your online presence. And I want to start with the fact that getting followers is not the goal. It shouldn't be a goal for you. You shouldn't go into Instagram with that goal in mind, that you want to have XYZ amount of followers, because they are not the goal and they have never been. And I want to illustrate it with a quote by Seth Godin, who you might know. He says, the Mona Lisa has a huge social media presence. That's correct. She's big on social media because she is an icon, but she's not an icon because she's big on social media. So I let that sink in. The kind of the point of this is that you should be always trying to do something much bigger than just growing a following, and that the actual following is a byproduct of you being on your mission, you working towards your bigger goals, and kind of doing the more important thing than asking people to follow you. Because if you're on the journey and you're doing great thing and you share it in the process and you document the process and you share it maybe on Instagram, people who will resonate with you, they will follow you naturally. So really getting followers is more of a byproduct than the goal itself. The goal is probably something bigger, something that is related to your vision, to your mission, right? So that's why I think it's really, really important to start with why. Start with why is a kind of slogan from Simon Sinek, or Simon Sinek really popularized starting with why. And I wanted to share with you an example of my why. And it's a very simple and short definition of a designer. I'm an architect, I'm a designer, and I really like this definition, which says that a designer is someone who solves a problem and communicates that solution. And I think it's super true. In a short sentence, it makes total sense to me. And I've kind of, from my experience, I've learned that being able to communicate and being able to use sketching both in the design process as well as communicating the results is so important, ultimately important skill even in 21st century. So part of this became one of the core values for my Sketch Like an Architect projects, that even though there is so much technology that we use as architects and kind of overshadowed the traditional sketching, I'm trying to bring some of the values and benefits of that back. Now, defining your niche is the second step. You probably heard about it. What is niche or niche? Depending where you're from. It's basically an area of interest. And since we're talking about the context of Instagram, Instagram has always been a very visual platform as opposed to some other ones like Twitter. So ideally, if your niche can be represented strongly in a visual way. Popular niches, like pretty much general, include fitness, luxury, lifestyle, beauty, fashion, travel, business, all of that stuff. So there are really big niches, and you want to dive into kind of your very defined, focused sub niche. So it should be big enough, meaning that it's fruitful enough. There's enough people interested in your niche, but specific enough so it's not too broad or too vague. And here's a little diagram that hopefully will help you with defining your niche if it's not defined yet. And it should lie on the intersection of your passion and your expertise. That's where I believe your ideal niche lies. So I'll share with you again my example. My example is architectural sketching, and I want to just demonstrate that it's not architecture itself, that's too broad, and it's not sketching or drawing itself, that's broad again as well. So it's something in between, and actually architectural sketching is a type, it's a very characteristic style of sketching that is mostly used by architects and designers, but maybe also urban sketchers these days. So it's kind of specific enough to have its own niche. And I wanted to ask you what it is that your niche is, or niche. Let us know again in the chat. I'll give you a few moments, and whether you have it already defined, maybe try to think about it once again. Is it defined close enough, focused enough? And if you didn't have it yet, maybe the diagram will help with your passion, your expertise, where it lies. So let us know in the chat. And I'll take a little sip again.
While you're lubricating your throat, David, very important during any cold and flu season. So I just want to note some of the things that came in the comments as folks are identifying their why or their niche. Oftentimes, the way that I think about this is, what is the unique value that you're providing to your audience, right? So what is it that your audience is getting from you that they can't get somewhere else? And it seems like we have a lot of folks here who are doing these different creative pursuits, like abstract flowers and elephants. I'm so I love the specificity of that. So a painting using oil and cold wax. So a lot of folks are kind of describing the specific area of their creative expertise. And some folks are also mentioning, beauty on the walls. Okay, so Denise, who is talking about who had our abstract flowers and elephants, her why has to do with bringing beauty to the walls of people's homes, which is really succinct and lovely. And I'm curious to know, so just based on some of these comments, how do they feel to you? Do they feel specific enough for to translate into something like valuable Instagram content? Like, what are you seeing in this list of comments folks are making here?
No, 100%. And it's always interesting to kind of discover niches that you wouldn't otherwise think about. And they're like, wow, that's actually super interesting. And you can just think about bringing joy to home. It's relevant to so many people, but at the same time, combined with abstract flowers, it becomes very focused. So that's, for instance, great approach. So yeah, I loved it. And I'm seeing a lot of great examples in the chat.
I love this one too. Pause on Hubbard. Families come to me for help in creating calm from the chaos with their family dog. That's a really, that like, I'm very clear on what the value is and how that creativity will manifest for me. I love that. That's great.
Yes. Awesome. So thanks so much to everyone for sharing that. And I guess we can continue, move forward with the next steps. All right. So what kind of goes hand in hand with your ideal niche is your target audience. And excuse me, I wanted to start with a simple statement that there is really no point in trying to please everyone. You are not here for everyone. Your work is not here for everyone. Your value is not here for everyone. Not everyone will appreciate it, and that's absolutely okay. So the more niched and focused you can get, the actually better. So it's about attracting the best people for you and repelling the rest. You don't want people that are not really attracted and that resonate with what you say, with your values, that are not on the same page. So here are some of the things and suggestions that you could do on Instagram to really get to know your audience even better. And you can engage with your community, reply to their comments, follow them when they follow you, just because you want to learn more about them. Discuss more details in the DMs, direct messages. It's so powerful because it's one-on-one and people really open up. And I've seen a comment from a coach in the chat. A lot of also coaching clients come to you via DMs. I have my own experience with it. Many other coaches kind of close those clients via DMs. When you have a little bit of conversation and you get to know them better, maybe you jump on a discovery call. A lot of it happens via DMs. And of course, you can leverage stories, ask questions, create polls to ask your audience, and again, learn more about what they want, what are their preferences, what is their worldview. So hopefully that will help. Basically, you want to get personas defined, which is basically a combination of demographics, like who is it, how old, female or male, where are they based, what job do they do, stuff like that, plus psychographics, which are, I guess, even more important. And there are things like, what are their dreams and hopes? What, on the opposite side, what are they struggling with? What are their fears and doubts and objections? So you want to kind of know these things for your ideal audience so you can craft the best type of content for them. And yes, it's a long-term process, at least for me. And I think it really requires mainly two things, which is empathy and care. So moving on with the value you provide, Ashley kind of touched on this point with what is the valuable content that you can provide. And I want to give you 3 hints which work really great, and it's been already tested thousands of times on different formats across all the internet. Is that ideally your content will consist of at least one, but ideally it will combine all 3 of these categories, and it's entertainment. So your content will be entertaining, it will be educating, it will be sharing useful information, and at the same time it will be inspiring or motivating. And if you can really put these 3 values into a single piece of content, it's going to be amazing. And of course, these things, you will find out that something works better than other. With some type of content, your audience resonates better. So it's always about trying, experimenting, and optimizing as well. My example is architectural sketching, but I don't want to show you just architectural sketches and say, hey, look, I made a nice sketch. I don't think there's enough value in that. I always want to show you what's behind that sketch, how it was made, maybe show you a step-by-step drawing process which you can replicate, or give you some tips on perspective so you can get better for your own illustrations. That's what I try to put in most of my posts and content online. I stole this. Actually, you can see the credit at the bottom. Kindness, it doesn't cost a damn thing. Sprinkle that everywhere. It's a lot about, again, care, empathy, and kindness. Just being kind to one another, even though it's online. We are still the same people, and people, still can get hurt, even though it's online. So moving towards more nitty-gritty stuff, hashtag strategy. Probably I'll skip over these. You know what are hashtags, searchable words or phrases. Instagram was not the first one to use it, but it was very much built on hashtags. And one of the big questions is how many to use? Should I use 1 or 3 or 5, 10 or 30? There is a maximum of 30 hashtags per post, meaning the main feed post. And I've been using the max amount 30 pretty much ever since. And it always has worked magic for me. So I did the research. We'll talk about how to find those which are relevant to your niche, but I've always been using 30 hashtags or maybe 29, 28 just to fly under the radar. But 30, never had a problem with that either. So it's important to know there are different types of hashtags. And one way of differentiating between them is, I'll skip in here, is actually how much reach those hashtags have, whether they are used in just a few posts or more posts, or they are very generic and they are used in maybe millions of posts. So here we have a example of my own very own branded hashtag, which is on the very right-hand side, sketch like an architect. I've created this one. It's for my community. It's for my posts. It's also how I connect with my tribe, my people. But it's been used. If you click on it now, I think it has like over 30,000 posts. But it's still kind of the low reach hashtag. The middle reach hashtag, like ArchiSketcher, has hundreds of thousands of posts, and it's much more widely used. And then we have really high reach hashtag, very generic, such as sketching or drawing. It would be used in millions and millions of posts. And what you want to do is to research these relevant hashtags in all these 3 categories and combine a nice cocktail from them. So it's a nice balance between low reach, middle reach, and high reach hashtags. Let me tell you why. If you used only the highest reach hashtags, it's nice. You can theoretically reach really big amount of people, but at the same time, you'll be competing against everyone, and it'll be really hard to stand out. So what you're looking for is a nice, balanced, unique mixture of all these three types in your posts. And where you can find them, obvious choice is Instagram search tool. That's for one. Another one is actually look and follow your own audience and see what they are using, so you can connect them and you can kind of meet them where they are. And on the opposite spectrum is to analyze influencers in your niche. We're getting back to our target audience, back to our niche. So you can analyze, let's say, 5 top influencers in your niche and see what they are using to get inspiration from. So hashtag strategy is something very important, but at the same time is something that is very measurable or trackable, and therefore it's manageable, right? So you can test these, optimize, and repeat. You can keep it in a spreadsheet on your notepad, somewhere where it's easy for you to copy it from. And you can always reflect on those every week, 2 weeks, every month, and try to experiment. All right, I'll take one more sip. I hope you're doing great. I'm covering a lot. We're still scratching the surface from what's actually in my course, but I want to give you as much as possible in that, let's say, 1 hour that we have together. So in the next phase is what I think makes a quality content. And obviously it's aesthetics. We are talking about visual platform like Instagram. So again, keeping the context in mind. We are on Instagram. This is not Twitter. This is not something else. We are on Instagram. So aesthetics is obviously important. I want to spare a few more moments in this one. Shareability. What does it mean? Shareable content is the one that gets viral because it gets shared more and more. And what does it mean to be shareable? Shareable means two things. One, it is relatable for your target audience. And to give you an example, for instance, I'm an architect, I'm a designer, I've studied architecture, and there is really a toxic culture of a lot of pressure, pulling off all-nighters and this kind of stuff. And that is very relatable to other architecture students because they know what you're talking about, like being really tired, exhausted, lack of sleep, a lot of pressure from your maybe peers, maybe professors. That's relatable. So you can always look to your role or position to kind of see where the common characteristics are. So that's one thing. And the other thing is originality, in a sense that it's your own spin on things. It's your own take on that topic. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you just take your own spin on topic that is out there. Combined with the relatable approach, it gets really shareable. Again, we talked about bringing value, education, entertainment, motivation. It's engaging. One thing to note here is use the caption on Instagram posts and use it more as a start of a conversation rather than a statement. You want to ask a question, or maybe you want to say a related story to that picture that is so much more engaging than just, hey, here's the newest picture I drew. Nice, but let's talk more, right? So a little bit of more love to the captions will always help with its engagement. It's great to share behind the scenes, document your work, document how you create things. It's always fascinating, at least for me, but I believe for so many people, to see how things are created. So share behind the scenes. And don't forget about the context where you're in, about creating native pieces of content, meaning either square posts or slightly higher posts, 4:5 ratio, 9:16 ratio for stories, all the time specific for videos, maybe for reels it's either 15, 30, or now it's 60 seconds in some countries. So keep these in mind when you're creating your content for Instagram. And also be aware of the mindset that people are in on Instagram, because they're in different mindset than when they are on Facebook. Because maybe on Facebook they have mostly their friends and family in there. It's a different mindset when they are on LinkedIn, because that's very business related and they are kind of searching for maybe a new job. So on Instagram, they are looking for maybe inspiration, maybe tips and tricks, maybe some fun. So they are in different mindsets. So keep that in mind, again, native to the platform. Now we want to dive into your bio, your profile, which is basically your landing page, and how to get most out of it. So this is an older screenshot, as you can see, but the structure is still the same. You have two names on Instagram. One is the handle, the username, in my case, David_Drazil. And the other name, the Instagram name, which is actually searchable, is Sketch Like an Architect. And now I think the algorithm can search both these names. So it's really useful to differentiate between them. Maybe in the handle, say your name, and maybe in the Instagram name, say what you do. Maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're a painting artist. Maybe you're someone else. But people might search for painting or for coaching, business coaching. So try to include these keywords so you are more discoverable. Then in the main part of your profile, in your bio, share who you are in a sentence and what people can expect when they decide to follow you. Because profile is where they decide to follow you or not. So give them a hint what they might expect. It's always good. And you have also an opportunity to use call to action to give them some specific call to action to click on your link, download a freebie, go to your website, visit your YouTube channel, whatever it is. There are a lot of clicks and a lot of traffic going through here. All right. And then at the very bottom, highlighted stories from something, you can divide it into categories or something really memorable that happened in stories and you want to keep it for everyone that visits your profile, something about you, your work, whatever it is. So maybe your products, your services, your offerings, maybe your different online platforms, whatever it is, you can, and you want to keep it kind of handy and eye-catchy on your profile as Instagram stories highlights. All right. And now let's go through a content typology kind of checklist. When you make a post, it's best when you make the most out of it in including all of this information. With all of this information, you are teaching algorithm the important things that it should know about you, your post, your work. Again, it's more searchable. So it's really important to give it enough and as much information as possible. So definitely don't forget about geolocation at the very top. Make it a native square or 4:5 ratio post, so it takes a bigger portion of the screen. You can tag relevant curating pages that are likely to reshare or repost your work. Then we talked about caption. We talked about being engaging. In this case, there is a quiz question. So again, the question gets answered in the comments, which is more engagement. It all helps your post reach more people. If it's the case, you can credit the source of inspiration and you can include your branded hashtag. And then I usually visually separate the rest of the 30 hashtags. And you can see that there was 70 plus comments because people are answering the question from the caption. And it's been a really successful post, and this is just one of many. But if you follow this kind of structure, you'll get the most out of your every post. So that's important. Okay, and of course, you always want to reply to the comments. And now I want to share with you one of the best performing posts and the insights behind it, and actually tell you why it worked and how you can replicate it for your own posts. So this is the post, this is the cover, and you can see it's quite simple. It's kind of in my branded colors, simple graphics, and it has a text which catches your eyes, and it says how to place people. You probably might know how to place people, but then I say what you're doing wrong, which is I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm just trying to be incentivizing people. Okay, here's something you might learn, and I show a little don't do this and do this. Don'ts, do's and don'ts type of graphic. So it's engaging. It grabs attention right away. It's important. And then it's a carousel post. So in this case, there were 8 pictures, 8 slides, and this is how it looks. So it was a cover, and then what's wrong, what can be better, what's wrong, better, wrong, better. And I always explain why I think this is not as good and why I think this might be better. So I'm not trying to be, very preachy about, hey, this is wrong, don't do this. I'm trying to explain my point of view. This is not as good because XYZ, and this is better because XYZ. So this is the main stuff, the main value. And as the very last slide, I include call to action. So in this case, it's very relatable. The post talks about people. I include these people in all the posts, and then I share a freebie that you can download these same people silhouettes to use it in your own illustrations. And this whole model follows a simple AIDA model or principle that is, it's kind of a very old marketing principle that can be used in different formats. It can be used in video, it can be used in email marketing, and can be also applied to Instagram context. And what it stands for is attention, interest, desire, and action. And this is basically how it is distributed across those 8 up to 10 images which you have in your carousel. So you grab the attention with the cover, then you build more interest and desire, and at the end you have clear call to action. And I want you to show, and I want you to focus on some of the important numbers. Yes, it has many likes, 22,000, and many even more saves and a lot of shares. That's the kind of engagement metrics at the very top. But what was more important for me back then was that the website clicks were almost at 3,000. 3,000 website clicks, almost 3,000 new email subscribers who downloaded my freebie. That's a big number, especially for someone who is in online business. That's a lot of new leads. So that's great traffic. And actually, the amount of people that I reached was 9 times more than I had the number of following. So the organic reach was very great. And there was, more than 4,000 people followed me just based on this post. 4,000 people from one post. So this whole post was designed to work. And these are some of the results. And I'll be honest, it didn't take 5 minutes for me to create this post. I think it took like 2 to 3 hours to create this post. But at the end, it was well worth it for me. So this is just one of the examples how you can leverage Instagram for whatever your bigger goal is. And now I want to actually, acknowledge the elephant in the room. So is Instagram dead now? You might know this. In June, the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, he announced that Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app, that it will focus a bit more on video content. And a lot of creators kind of took their spin on that. And I want to show you some tests that I did after this was announced. And purposefully, I didn't share a video reel that should be more, as they say, more pushed outwards. But I shared a simple carousel post with only 4 images, no AIDA principle, no call to action, nothing. And these were the results. And you can see at the very bottom, I don't know if you can see that, but it's August 5th. So it's like 1 month ago, way after Instagram is no more a photo sharing app. And even though, yes, the organic reach should be decreasing and all that stuff, and algorithm is changing all the time, these are the results. I shared 4 images, kind of before and after, kind of 10-year challenge between my drawings 10 years ago and now. And look at the Instagram engagement metrics. Almost again 20,000 likes, a lot of saves, and probably double the impression that my following is right now. I have around 200,000 people, right? And the impressions were 400,000. And the actually unique accounts were 382,000. So that was very recent. So if you're scared that you don't want to create reels, you don't want to create video, and you think, okay, Instagram is no more for just photos and normal static pictures, I think that's wrong. I think it still works. Maybe just video is a little bit more trendy now, but it's more about a long-term game for me. So even though it's just basic pictures, I wrote quite a long caption for this, basically my 10-year story in the caption. So that was engaging, I guess. It still works, and still new people can discover you even now. And here's one more example from not me, so I don't present all the time myself, but this is from another Czech artist, Sylvia Mahadal, who she has over 1 million followers. She's amazing. She do a lot of charcoal and pencil drawings, and this was a video, and she was kind enough to share with me the insights, because this one video of her reached more than 22 million people. And that's, again, recent. It's few weeks back, and it's still getting more traction. And now I think you can see the screenshot on the right-hand side. It has over 3 million likes, and on the inside, it was only 2.2. So it's still getting more and more. And that's, again, very recent news. And it is amazing even for Sylvia, because she has, let's say, only 1 million, but this was reached by, or it reached more than 22 million people. Like, crazy numbers. I know, crazy numbers, even way for me, crazy numbers. But, Instagram, I think these are some of the examples that just say and state that Instagram isn't really dead. It is evolving, it is changing like everything else in our lives, but it's definitely not that. At least that's my opinion, and I'll be happy to discuss more. All right, so just to wrap it up, my top 10 rules. I go through them very quickly because we are getting a bit long, but some of the things that we covered, there's obviously so much more in the full course, but it's just not enough time to cover in a 45-minute session. I hope you got as much out of it as possible, no matter whether you will want to go deeper or not. But yeah, I hope that you can read it. So I'm not going to go over every point. You can screenshot it if you like, but it's kind of general lessons learned from few years on Instagram now. So that'll be it. That'll be the wrap of the presentation. You can let us know what was the key takeaway for you tonight, and I'll be happy to get into more Q&A and maybe share more about the course. So, Ashley, we are we are wrapping up the presentation.
There we go.
All right.
Sorry about that. My internet is being a little funny, but it looks like we got it going. Thank you so much, David. This is amazing. I am very curious to dive into those 10 rules a little bit more, and to understand a bit more about how you can utilize Instagram posts. So specifically the captions, the hashtags as a way of positioning your own creative work in an environment that maybe already has some followers that you have yet to discover. So I loved what you said about the using hashtags that have a balance between high exposure, medium exposure, low exposure, because then you're kind of you're not fully competing with the highest traffic hashtags, and you're not sort of flying totally under the radar by only using hashtags that that you yourself are designing, and maybe they're a bit esoteric. So those are just some really terrific points. I was actually going to ask you if you could put these top 10 rules up again. So curious to know from our audience, what questions do you all have? What are you curious about after having heard David? What's resonating with you? I have one question specifically. So the post that you shared, David, about the, what, how to position people, what you're doing wrong. So let's say you've got a great idea for a post like that. We have a lot of folks in this session who put themselves in that A or B group, right? So maybe they're just getting started kind of building out an Instagram account for their creative profile. Would you recommend, if you've got an idea for a post like yours that's designed to engage and get some high traffic, but you haven't maybe spent a lot of time sort of like back building content that is really relevant to your creative discipline, would you say you should save the post that's likely to get high traffic until you have some more stuff for people to engage with on your feed? Or do you think it's okay to just kind of, hit the ground running and put those high traffic posts up as you can, and maybe just kind of develop a rhythm after that?
Yeah, 100% the latter. Like, hit the ground, full throttle. If you think it's valuable, and I think it was also mentioned in the presentation, always ask before posting. Ask yourself, like, what value does this bring to my target audience? Do I like it enough myself to actually share it and share it as a notable, valuable piece of information out there? Does it meet my standards? That's one thing, like the first check-in, right? And if it does, and if you're excited about the content, share it out. And you want to create as many as these high-performing unicorns as possible. But the truth is, you will never know in advance whether it will work or not. So you want to test different types of content, and then you'll probably find a pattern that this type of content really does resonate with my target audience the best. So I'll just double down on that to speed up my growth. So it's always about kind of reflecting back. And as I said, test, experiment, test, optimize, repeat. It's always this kind of game of iterations. And the more you create content, the better you get at it. And the more you will get to know your audience. So yeah, I think that would be the advice.
It's a great point. And it sounds like what I'm hearing you say also is that maybe even more important, or not more important, but important to do before you kind of start diving into the high traffic posts, is really identifying, like spending some good time figuring out who your target audience is. So who specifically is this post for? Is it for people who, we have Pause on Hubbard here, who is doing, who brings calm to families that are having chaos in their home with their family dog. So imagining a post, like there might be one post that's great to drive traffic for dog lovers in general, but there also might be a post that will really help you cement yourself or define yourself as somebody who is a resource for dog training, right? Those and each of those posts has a different target audience. So it seems like what I'm taking away from what you're saying is, like, spend some time figuring out who specifically you're trying to reach and provide value to. Because I know that I often use Instagram as like just a journal, a visual journal almost. Like I just put stuff out there that is on my mind, and and I haven't used it in this targeted way. But it seems like one of the things that's critical to what you're saying is like pay
Yeah.
attention to.
And I think it can be like two-way street that you might get really overwhelmed by, hey, I need to know my why. I need to figure out specifics of my target audience. It might be daunting, especially at the beginning. So you can actually start creating content that you're excited about and let that content inform you about what kind of people does this resonate with. Okay,
Yeah.
and is this my kind of folks, or am I in the wrong pool? So it's always about I put some intention in my content and hope it reaches the right people for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I will then analyze what the post actually did, what kind of people it brought, what kind of question it brought in the comments. So I always want to, navigate these nuances, and I have the intention, but there are the results, and I can always compare. So am I in the right direction, or should I pivot a bit? So don't worry if you're not like 100% sure about your why for this endeavor, if you're not 100% sure about your target audience or your niche. It's something that takes time to get really cemented and niched and focused down. So just start creating content that you're proud of, that is shareable, that has all the qualities, and that you are proud to present yourself with. And then the rest will naturally follow. And again, the right people for your content will naturally follow. Sometimes I get DMs from people asking me to follow them. And I always reply with the same kind of comment: give me a reason to,
Yeah.
right? And I might not be the best follower for you, and you not for me. So there has to be a fit. And usually the right people will follow you naturally. You don't need to ask anyone to follow you, right? They will just see your content, they will like it, and they will follow you. And then you have a chance to build that relationship. So you let them know to let them learn more about you, get to like you, get to trust you, and that's where the relationship starts. So it's a long-term process. It's not going to happen in weeks, but just dive in and get the information, get some intention, and get the
Yeah.
information out of it.
Yeah, I like that. It's a long-term process that's also iterative.
Yeah.
So if you're, in it's daunting to think about who is my target audience. I have to get this exactly right. But it sounds like what you're saying is you don't have to be precious about it, because the posts that aren't those unicorn posts, it's not like anybody is judging you for it being bad or wrong. Nobody's seeing it, so nobody cares, right? but you can identify just putting something out there. It's an experiment, and you can identify, oh, okay, that worked how I thought it would, versus, oh, that didn't work how I thought it would. Looks like the people who are responding are maybe more interested in X, Y, or Z. Let me try a few posts in that direction, which kind of makes it more exciting of a task than daunting, which is, I think, a nice way to think about it. Because otherwise it can be, for me, I can get paralyzed. I'm like, nah. But I like the way that you're framing it. I know we have to wrap up in a minute, but audience, please join me in thanking David for this incredible session today. And I've seen from just the responses and the comments here that you've already gotten some really valuable takeaways. I do have one more question from Anthony that I'd love to kind of close us out on here. And then David, I'd love to hear just a little bit more about, so folks who find what you're saying valuable and interesting and want to kind of dive more deeply into this, could you share just a little bit about the structure and the content that's in the course that they'll have access to? And while folks are typing their gratitude in the chat here, Anthony brings up a really good point about wondering whether to make a new account if you're thinking about maybe transitioning from from personal posts, like my version of the diary posts, into something that is more um, connected to your creative brand? Should you start a new account? Can you transition an account? What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think it depends whether you want to still keep your personal account and still want to, use that for personal purposes, or not.
Mm,
If you're not too keen on the personal account, I would just pivot on the personal account where you already have some following and just go in the new direction on there. And maybe you can switch to a business profile, which helps with the insights and analytics. So you learn more about the content that you're putting out, and that's good as well. So
gotcha.
I think it's about whether it's absolutely okay to create a new one and keep the personal, in case you want to kind of manage two accounts. But if that sounds like too much, you can just switch and pivot in the personal one, no problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate that. And it's nice to know too that if you want your, if for example, like you, and same for me, my accounts are both of our accounts are our names. So it's not like the name of a business per se, but you get a bit of a leg up if what you're trying to do is establish yourself as an expert in whatever the creative
Yeah.
pursuit is, using, having your that's what your name becomes associated with, which is kind of cool too. um
Exactly. It's
yeah.
great for personal brands, right? If the brand evolves, is all around you, then using your name is absolutely legit, and you
Yeah.
can use whatever it is more creative or more niche related. You can use that in the second Instagram name. In my
Right,
case,
right.
that's the sketch like an architect, right? That already includes the keywords and phrases like sketch and architect, so people are likely to discover me.
Yeah. Okay, so the course, can you share just a little bit about what, I mean, I'm curious to know. So you mentioned some of the elements that we just didn't have time to dive fully into today. But can you just share a little bit about the structure of it and what folks will get access to?
Sure, sure.
And I'll
I'll be happy
drop the
to.
link in there.
Uh, I wanted to actually start with a little bit of inspiration from some of my students that you can find on Instagram with these handles. It's Anna Sokolova, artist, David Klink, and Linescapes drawings for examples, and they've used everything that I've been talking about, and so much more that is in the course, to really grow their own channels for their own purposes. And Anna, she's an artist, she's a professional artist. David David has it more as a side hustle, and he's actually a design manager. Lionscapes are building great community. So they're all different paths. And I just wanted to share that everything that I've shared, I've also taught to other people, and it worked for them as well. So it's not just something that works for me, but it's very likely that it will work for you, because it's just based on kind of long-term strategies and approaches which
Mm,
are not trendy, or just hot in the current situation or niche. So
right.
for instance, Anna, she's a great artist, and I'm not gonna read it, but she's been on Instagram for over 3 years, right? And she said that with my course, all the strategies and sticking to them, that's what she said is the most important part, helped her to grow from 7K to 57K, which is fantastic. And I
That's
think
great.
if you check her out now, she has over 70K, so she's still growing just based on the strategies that we've been talking about. And
That's
something
great.
similar goes for David. He says that he struggled with the growth. It was very static or stagnant, and he grew like 20 to 30 people per week in January 2020. And then with the strategies in my course, he started to grow 300 to 500 per week. And he doubled to more than 10,000. And I think he's now over 50. So he keeps growing. And he's in totally different location, different area. He's a designer. He just do something differently, but it still works for him as well. So I
I also
think
love
that's,
this, I don't know what to call these, but the highlight images that
yeah,
spell out
yeah,
design. It's a really good looking account. It's very
yeah.
lovely.
So
Yeah.
I'm really excited that what I've put together and kind of really tracked over the years is helping other people as well in the same way.
Yeah.
So that's all that is Instagram for Creatives, the course, that's its purpose, to kind of help you save the time. You don't need to spend 3 to 4 years like I did figuring it out on your own, but you can just get the head start and start growing and getting to your goals a little bit faster, which I'll be so happy to help you with. So the course has a lot of content, 22 on-demand videos that you can just watch in your own time, and it covers in detail all these six categories. Number five is really where something that I haven't shared anywhere else, and it's exactly behind the scenes of how I helped my books and book launches, how I launched my digital products, how I launched merchandise, and how I used Instagram to help me with that and make it a success. So I share absolutely detailed behind the scenes of how I do things that go beyond Instagram. So that was very exciting. And even though we scratch the surface of some of the things, I go in detail in the course, and there is every video dedicated to a certain topic. But also, we talk about how to behave on social media, how to reach out to people, how to engage with your audience, how to, when you're promoting something, how to not feel or be sleazy or salesy, but rather maybe use testimonials as a proof of concept, and so much more. Also, because being a content creator can be like damaging. You can get burnt out because it takes a lot of time to
Exhausting. Yeah.
create unique and great content. So we talk about how to prevent that, how to plan your content, how to approach it in a more healthy and sustainable way. I guess that's what's important. And as Gasper from Linescapes, he says that it really helped him to understand the underlying logic of Instagram and pretty much any social media, and the rules of content creation. So it's more of this foundation that sets you hopefully on the right track for you. And of
Which
course,
is
there
like,
is a
which
bunch
is
of,
such a thing. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's such a powerful statement for a creator to make, because that's when the magic really happens, right? Your foundational knowledge in is understanding the logic of architecture. And once you're able to do that, then you can fully apply your creativity to it, which is almost like, then it becomes kind of a superpower. So if you're and I actually can't say gas if you're Gasper, and you're not fully utilizing this tool because it doesn't totally make sense to you, or it doesn't feel like it applies to you. Once you understand it, then you're like, oh, okay, I can make this my own and do something amazing with it.
exactly like on point. So that's what I'm excited about, and that's, I guess, what comes with practice, and just all those years of
Mhm.
experience come into play, right? So I just want to mention it's not only videos, but you'll get printable PDF bonuses. So there are action sheets that guide you through it, so you have a little helping hand when you're really setting the foundations for your online presence building.
Good worksheet.
Worksheets, action sheets, content strategy plan. So there's these helpful resources there as well. And of course, as with any of my courses on Teachable, which I'm really just excited about, there is a 30-day money back guarantee, like no risk. I don't want your money if you don't love it. If you don't love it, you know. So it's kind of safe space.
Yeah, yeah.
So just to wrap it up, this is everything that you're getting. And yeah, normally we offer it for 99, right, at Teachable, but we agree that we give you 20% off for today, for you hanging out with us, if you want to take advantage of this course today or in the next few days. So
Yeah.
I'll be really excited to see you inside. And now I'm even more excited to answer any of your questions that might pop up.
Love this. Thank you so much, David. We've had lots of folks saying, just sharing their positive takeaways. Some folks are asking, about their particular directions. So, well, just a tactical question. Do you know, you mentioned the business account, which helps with analytics. Is that something that is available for free? Is that like, can you shift your personal account to a business account at any time?
Yes, absolutely. You can. It is for free. I think the only thing you need is to create a connected Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And it helps you with more insights about your content and more analytics. So it's definitely helpful. And I even include a handy graphic, like infographic for decision making, whether you should keep
Ah,
your personal account or switch to business. And
super.
there's like little yes or no questions that lead you to the final decision if it's the right fit for you or not. So it's definitely an option. I would recommend it in most cases, and it's easy and free to do. Yeah.
Excellent. So there you go, Anthony. Answer to that question. And then the final one I'll share. The Nova Studio is wondering if there's any benefit to putting hashtags in comments versus in the actual post. So, like, is that it? Do you know if that gets the same kind of traction or traffic, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. I recommend, and what I've been always doing, and that worked great for me, was putting it with the visual separation in the caption. But I know some people prefer it because of the visual aesthetics of the caption to put it in the comments. And theoretically, it shouldn't matter. It should be the same output, the same results, same discoverability from that. But from what I've heard from other creators, and sometimes much bigger than me, they say that sometimes when you put it in comments as the very first thing you can do after you post, sometimes it just doesn't work. It doesn't see it for some reason. So I've heard there were some of these glitches when it comes to putting it in the comments. So I've always sticked to putting there in the caption and had never problem with it.
Yeah.
So if you dare, you can test it out and experiment.
Yeah,
It shouldn't
experiment.
matter, but I would recommend just keeping them in caption. And also, we talk in the course about different scheduling apps and what I recommend. And you can actually pre-write the whole caption, including the hashtags, and then just copy paste it in, and it's super fast and easy, right? So, and that just supports the way that I do it, that it's still part of the caption.
Gotcha. Well, this has been terrific. Thank you so much, David, for this tremendously useful and very actionable set of resources and information. I am very excited to dive into what's in the course here. And it seems like we have a lot of folks in the audience who are as well. Audience, please join me in thanking David. I'm so grateful to you all for having joined us today. Like I mentioned, there will be a replay available. So if you came in a bit late or just want to have access to David's words of wisdom and strategies and all that, you will get an email that has a link to the replay in it, and you'll be able to view it on the Discover YouTube page, which is what you're on right now. So if you are into content like this, then like and subscribe, like the video and subscribe to the page, and you'll be the first to know when we have an amazing creator like David back here with us, sharing, dropping more bombs of wisdom on us. So thank you all so much for being with us today, David. Thank you so much. Really excited to continue to learn, and also excited to follow you on Instagram.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to share a bit of my journey with you. And yeah, it was exciting. It always is with Teachable. So thank you for having me.
Our pleasure. Anytime you want to come back, we'd love to have you again. Audience, have a great rest of your day or evening if you happen to be in Prague, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.